Hello, everybody. This is Ahmed again. This is Sunday, February 18th. والحقيقة النهاردة today يعني it's an interesting personal political story. Uh, I few years ago I've heard about this American dancer. Uh, she wasn't a dancer. She was a student at Harvard, and she went to Egypt on a scholarship for a semester or so to study. That's right after the revolution in Egypt, to study the effects of uh, the Islamic movement or the Islamic state in Egypt. On arts and dance and what have you. And she went there for a year, for a semester, and she stayed there for 10 years. She loved it, stayed there. And instead of studying uh, Middle Eastern dancing, she actually became a Middle Eastern dancer. And she was very successful, and uh, uh, she was sought after by major hotels, hospitals, agencies, and I talked to her a few years back, right after she came from Egypt, and now I haven't heard from her long, so I was a little bit curious about what became of her and what's her life like, and I just want to find out more about her life back in the United States, and she'll be coming here to talk to me, and her name is Luna of Cairo. That was her pin name in Cairo. Luna, you're becoming an Egyptian, Luna.
Why?
Yes, a little bit. It's been happening. That was in like I'm showing the 2012 when you went to Egypt,
2008.
2008. So that's what was before the revolution then.
Correct.
So you lived the revolution 4 or 5 years after that. The revolution took place.
Right.
Okay. So
Back at the end of 2018.
2018, right before COVID. Now,
Right.
now it's been 5 years or so. So so how is your life now? What you been doing since you came back? Sometime re-entering your home is much harder than leaving the home.
Well, as you said, re-entering your own country is probably more difficult than leaving your country in the first place. I found that to be very true in my experience. 5 years later, I feel like I'm still transitioning. There's things about life in Egypt that I became so accustomed to that became almost second nature to me. Just how lively everything is, how social everybody is. It's a different life.
Mhm.
So I can't complain. I'm not going to tell you that I haven't been able to get on with my life. Like I have. I'm fully acclimated here. I have a real job. I haven't stopped dancing, but there are times when I still feel like I'm a foreigner or a stranger in my own country. And there's a lot of disconnect between the way I think and the way modern American culture is set up on so many levels. And some of that has to do with my time in Egypt, and some of that has to do with just my upbringing. But I feel that the two of them together, Egypt almost reinforced or put into overdrive a lot of aspects of my childhood and my upbringing, so that when I came back here, I almost didn't recognize this country or felt like there wasn't a place for me to fit in. So it's okay. It's a process. I think I've gotten used to being a foreigner, whether that's in Egypt or any other country I've visited, or even now here. So I'm quite comfortable being uncomfortable.
I like that. Well, you're not a foreigner here on my show, Lorna. We like you. But you really, it's very interesting that you said that Egypt, that 10 years, reinforced the things you grew up with, your upbringing. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing that you found it, that you found Egypt kind of connection there in Egypt.
Well, I grew up in a very socially and religiously conservative household. Um, my family, well, I'm third generation Cuban and Italian, but I lived with my grandparents who were from Cuba. And much like many immigrants today, they had resisted assimilation into this culture, and they found much fault with the way Americans conduct their lives or the way Americans express their freedom. There's always this sentiment that Americans have too much freedom and they don't know what to do with it. And when that is the case, they start doing things that are detrimental to themselves, detrimental to society. I didn't really understand that when I was growing up, but it was definitely inculcated in me. And then I went to Egypt and I felt like, well, this is kind of familiar. It's almost what I grew up with. It's a little bit more than what I was used to. Obviously, it's a different religion and it's a different type of culture, but it's still very conservative. So I wasn't, I didn't feel completely out of place. It wasn't completely unfamiliar to me. So I think that's what allowed me to sort of slide in and just transition a lot easier than other Americans that were there with me at the same time.
That's that's beautiful analysis and perspective. But you know, when you went to Egypt, in a way, you were a privileged dancer or a student, whatever you were doing. You were not dealing the usual conservative crowd. You were dealing with the Egyptian that they really want to be Westernized and they try so hard not to be Egyptian. Is that a case, or am I being too harsh on your experience there? Because I might understand it from my first my first interview with you. You dealt with a very privileged crowd.
Yes and no. As you know, that strata of society is very, it's the minority. I would say it's no more than 3%. That upper class bougie type of Egyptian who, like you said, tries to deny their Egyptian heritage, and they look to the West and specifically the United States, and they try to emulate us. Usually it's always in the bad things, whether that's with drinking or arrogance or just flaunting their money. So yes, I did have contact with that level of society, but that's not the majority of my experiences. I actually lived in very working class, lower class neighborhoods. People were kind of shocked, like, what are you doing in that type of neighborhood? Well, I chose that neighborhood because that's the experience I was looking for. I wanted to understand the people. I wanted to understand the majority of the people, not
Have you,
the top.
what neighborhood that is, so people know? What's the name of that high or city? What?
Oh, in the beginning I started off in دقي
Yeah.
وبعدين رحت الهرم في منطقة اسمها طلبية.
Oh my God.
Yes.
So you are the one who sent معركة الجمل.
Yes.
So what's
That was right in the middle of the revolution, the first phase of the
yeah, yeah,
revolution.
yeah, yeah.
I had a front row seat to everything. And then after that, I moved to an area called Dar es Salaam, which people,
Still.
yeah, it's close to Maadi, but it's
Mhm.
kind of before that, and it's
Yeah.
حتة شعبية جدا.
Mhm.
تكاتك هنا وميكروباصات هنا you know, but I like that. I like that.
It's like a play. When you sit in the Egyptian street, you see history, 2, 3,000 years of history before your eyes.
Absolutely. Well, that's what attracted to me, that's what attracted me to Egypt in the first place. I always tell my friends, you'll never catch me in a place vacationing that has no history. I just, for me, there's no appeal, there's no pull. Um, we're talking about 7,000 years of history in Egypt, and like you said, you see every layer of that every single day on every street in Egypt, and that's what makes the experience so rich. Um,
So, what was the most difficult challenge you have re-entering home, re-entering America?
oh, there were several. I would say the first was getting used to speaking English all day, every day again, because that was not the case in Egypt. Obviously, I can't speak Arabic here all the time, so
Oh, really? So, 10 years you spoke the Arabic language in Egypt,
yes.
not just the Arabic language, the Egyptian curriculum,
Oh, gee.
which is a different, even different than Arabic.
It's different. It's my favorite. I love it.
Yeah.
But not being able to do that on a daily basis, not hearing it every day in the streets, not using it to interact with people in the stores or even at work. I mean, that was definitely um, a little bit, I'm not going to say challenging, but it took a lot of getting used to again. Uh,
What does not express certain thoughts, certain experience. Certain experience you have to express it in Arabic.
well, there's a couple words that I'm famous for saying, and I've just imposed them on everybody in my circle. None of them speak Arabic, but I force them to understand it and learn it and say it because it's the only way that I can express what I want. مثلا كلمة إن شاء الله. I love it. This is
There
my
we go.
favorite word ever in any language ever.
Yeah. God willing will not do, huh?
Well, there isn't really an equivalent to that here in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
closest thing would be God willing, but it doesn't have the
No, no.
same impact. So
No.
I just tell people, I say, look, I say something like, yeah, I'll show up, I'll see you tomorrow, inshallah. And then they'll ask, well, what is that? And I'll explain it to them and I force them to use it because
You were late for the interview, Lona. So I was saying, well, inshallah she'll come. Inshallah she'll come. And I think you're right. It's not just in God willing. It's an admission that you don't control everything.
use that word the way you explained, but then there's also the Egyptian way, and even
Yeah.
Egyptians get angry when I say inshallah. They're like, oh,
Yeah, really.
that means you're not going to show up. I'm like, well, maybe it's
Yeah.
it's very
Well,
non-committal, and that's
yeah,
what I like about it.
yeah, I love that. I mean, I think committing is way overrated, and I think life should be. You should add the human element to it. Everything. It's not everything online. You look at your Google Watch and it's what time that it's just crazy. Everybody's going nuts about measurement and being on time and all of this. There's always a room for the human, experience that's different than other human. Anyway, so inshallah, or you explained it very well. What else?
MashaAllah, subhanallah. Yeah, phrases like this. لو حبيبك عسل ما تلحسوش كله. Uh, there's certain, words
How
and
do you explain that to your friends here?
this one I think is easier to explain, which is I basically say if you have something good, don't don't eat it all up, don't glom it all up, don't consume it all in one setting because you want to save some. You don't want to run out of it. You don't want to be greedy. Just
That is my take on
have
it.
some for later, basically.
That is my take on it, Lorna. And might be a little bit different, slightly different than what you. It always self well is somebody, a friend or a neighbor or somebody in the street being good to you, being generous with you, you take advantage of it.
Manage.
What's the reaction of your family, your friends? Did they notice any difference? Did they tell you you changed? They like what you became, or what's going on there?
It's a mixed reaction. I would say some family members are more supportive of what I did than others.
What family member are you talking about? Your mother? Your what do you got left here?
Yeah, I've got my mom and my dad, my brother, uh, my grandfather, and extended family, just
Oh, really? Oh, that's nice.
a lot of cousins. Yeah, I'm very lucky. Alhamdulillah in that respect. Um,
Were they supportive? Were they were supportive in the idea to begin with 15 years ago when you decided to say, I'm going to Egypt, and they changed their mind, whatever, how that
they were su-
transpired?
they were supportive for 1 year because my plan was to go for not even a year, actually 9 months. I had a grant from the U.S. government to go and do research. It was like, okay, 9 months, not a big deal. She'll
Yeah.
come. Nobody was planning or expecting me to stay there for 10 years. And it became more and more of a problem between me and my family. And they wanted me home, especially when the revolution broke out, because it was really, really dangerous. And,
Yeah.
especially when they cut the communications and there was this communication blackout. So I get it, I understand. But I came back. I think my father is more proud of me and
Mm.
my accomplishments and especially me learning the language and speaking it. He's very proud of it. He introduces me to all of his Middle Eastern friends all the time, and he has me speak in Arabic. My mom, I think deep down she's proud of me, but there's also a little bit of this feeling that I betrayed my own culture, that I betrayed my Hispanic upbringing. Um,
How did you portray that?
because For example, she said one day, every time you come home, you're always speaking Arabic. You're always on the phone speaking Arabic with your friends, or your dancing is Arabic. Your whole life, it's like you were born there and you came here, and it's like you're an immigrant. I don't know you. I don't know you. I don't know who you are. So
Did you know that the Arabs spent 700 years in Spain? And
yes, years
most
ago,
of
that was how many years ago? That doesn't affect anything now. But
yeah, I know. But well, I mean, a mother, that's what they do for a living. They worry about their kids. But so how did you pick up your life here? You need to make a living. How do you adjust to that job? You said you are dancing here. What that is it different than back home? So what are you dancing? Where and home? Go ahead.
all right, I'll get my real job out of the way. My full time.
Yeah.
There's not a lot I can say about that, but I am employed full time. Um, it is what it is. Yes, I have continued dancing. There are restaurants here, there are nightclubs, and I had been doing that pretty consistently up until about 6 or 7 months ago. All of it is to CD, usually just to canned music, so you don't really have a lot of opportunity to dance with musicians. And there's a few, but they're not very good. I've slowed down the performing here for now just because I've had problems with management in different restaurants, and I'm not willing to, after 20 years of doing this,
Yeah.
I'm not willing to put up with indecent behavior. So
Wow. So
I just won't.
what what kind of restaurants are those?
Yeah, Middle Eastern restaurants.
Oh, I see. I see.
And it's fine. Everything comes down to who is managing the place.
Oh, I see.
What are their standards? How do they treat you? So I'm not going to stay in a place where they don't treat me right. So,
What a concept.
yeah, I'm not.
I
I'm not
understand.
to
Uh,
dance.
well, how's it different than that? In Egypt you were doing maybe in a restaurant, but you do it in a hotel, you do it in weddings. How did the audience treat you there or the management there than in Florida?
Well, there's no comparison whatsoever. First of all, Egypt, it was a full-time, 7 day a week sort of affair. And I was dancing all night from 5 p.m., sometimes until 5 a.m. Um, it was, I was just constantly on the go, constantly dancing. And I would start at my Nile cruise, and then I would go do five-star weddings. I would go to corporate events, military events. Sometimes,
Egyptian military are dancing now?
oh, I'm in. Yeah, that's
I know, I'm just kidding. I think that they probably their political dancing is what I'm opposing to,
well,
not this. But anyway, this is wonderful. So and you are a big star in Egypt, of Cairo, sought after by, as you say, by so many values. Now you are just coming here dancing in restaurants. You don't know the owner, management. That's a quite a shift, quite a leap. How you
it
adjust
is.
to that?
I just, I said to myself, I still want to dance. I don't want to give it up completely. So, of course, it's not going to be the way it is in Egypt, but I'll take what I can get. But like I said, until they start treating you a certain way, and then I say, well, it's not worth it at all. But um, there really is no comparison. And over there in Egypt, I had many layers of, let's say, protection or buffer between myself and the people that were doing the hiring. I had my personal manager. I had agents. Sometimes there were several agents. So I was never dealing directly with the client. Actually, you can't really do that in Egypt. That's not how the system works. And I used to think that was crazy in the beginning. And I realized that it's actually for the protection of the dancer. You don't want to be dealing with these clients. You really don't.
You're, you're a star, Lorna, there in Egypt.
Well, that's the concept there is, and maybe this can be seen as a little bit arrogant in this culture, but the concept there is if you're a star, stars don't ever come down from the sky. Like,
Yeah.
you know, again, it was not my mentality going in, but they taught me so many things. Like, yeah, you don't talk to clients, you don't talk to agents, you have someone to do that for you. You don't carry plastic shopping bags. Doesn't look good. These are things that I didn't know. I was young and I was coming from my country where we're not pretentious.
Yeah,
Americans
no,
are not pretentious
no,
people.
you're right, you're right, you're right. Yeah,
We're
but
very
but that plastic bag is like your idea. Every Egyptian is carrying a plastic bag. If you, it's plastic bag is like walking with a dog here. You know, when I walk with my dog in the morning and I see somebody walking without a dog, I get worried. I want to call the police. This guy is a pervert or so. So walking without a plastic bag in Cairo, say that what, this guy's lost or something.
right, right. They're like, you
So
can't
that's
possibly, you
yeah.
can't be a dancer or a star and
Yeah.
walk around with plastic bags. Like,
No, no, that's no. What's other no there?
oh, oh, there's a lot of no-nos.
Conservative,
Oh,
whatever.
just
But
even your body language and your posture. It's very common for Americans to sit and cross their legs, and that's actually considered a very polite way of sitting.
yeah,
Over there, it's insulting because it's almost like you're pointing the bottom of your shoe to the person, and that's highly insulting.
no, it depends on what kind of shoes you're wearing. No. I don't mind if you wear a nice shoes or high heel. Put in my face. I don't care. We wish you all the luck, and we thank you again, Lona of Cairo. Went to for 2 semesters in Egypt. Ended up spending 10 years. We'll let you go, and we'll talk to you later then.
All right, thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.